Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's the final hour of Back Black Friday. I hope everybody's been enjoying the panels. If you missed any, don't worry. They're going to be sitting right here at mainframecomiccon.com for you to enjoy in the weekend. And also the sale that we have going on. We need to remind everybody. Do you mind, Alec, put the crawl up and leave it up for the hour? It's okay. Because we want to direct people, too. We're selling some great art here at the website. And it's not just for tonight. It's going to go on through December 4th. So if you you have a chance to go where the prints are, check them out, and you might find something nice, a nice bat present for this holiday season. But I'm really excited to be doing Hanging Out in the Batcave. Judd Suntress here from the Word Balloon Podcast and Mainframe Comic Con, and I want to start introducing our panelists. These are people that have worked on Batman in the past, but also have current projects in the works as well. And we'll start off with the writer of a new Batman Black and White that's coming out in January, I believe. It's Corinna Bechko, everybody.
Hello.
Here she comes. There Hello. She is. Good to see you, buddy.
How are you
Thanks for doing this. I'm doing all right. How about you?
Pretty good.
Atta girl. Excellent. Her collaborator on said Batman Black and White, my co-host of To the Outer Limits, Gabriel Hardman, everybody, coming on the broadcast right now. There's Gabe.
Hello.
Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you, too.
I'm excited to talk to you guys about your story, but we'll continue to introduce the panel. From Batman 66, it's Jeff Parker, everybody. Jeff, coming in. There he is. Boom. Another regular on the To the Outer Limits podcast. We've talked a lot this week.
Yeah, we have. This is great. Just like it never ends.
There we go. And now it's time for our returning champion, who did a great run on all three, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, with Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley on a book called Trinity back in the day. It's Mike Norton, everybody.
Woo!
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You sound good. We were having issues before we came on live. But, no, guys, thanks a lot for doing this. It's just a casual conversation. We can talk Batman, talk whatever you guys want, literally hanging out in the Batcave. But I will get business out of the way and talk to all of you about your books. Now, Corinna and Gabe, you've got a book coming up for Batman Black and White, issue 2, correct?
Is that correct?
Come out in January, I want to say.
It is in January. I never can remember which issue. Is it Gabriel? Do you remember if it's 2?
We must have lost for a second.
Oh, no, I have to rely on.
While he's gone, Corinna, we do have an image from the Black and White book, and see if you can find it there, Chuck or Alec, if you guys can put up the image from the story. There we go. Look at that.
Nice.
It is gorgeous.
Tell us about the story, Corinna.
Well, it's always fun to work with Joker, so this is a hopefully rather. I don't want to say classic, but gets to the heart of the relationship between the two of them.
Interesting. Very cool. Did you see the movie? The Joaquin Phoenix movie?
Oh, yeah.
Gabe, you're back. We got a great image from the story, and we're just talking to Corinna about it as well. The Black and White story coming out in January. There we go.
Yeah, this actually was something that I really wanted to do. I mean, as opposed to a lot of freelance things, that might come up. I mean, I've wanted to draw a Batman Black and White story for 25 years or whatever.
That's great.
And also just doing black and white work really appeals to me. I mean, and it appeals to me in general, but I hadn't actually done much in the last several years. So when I got into this, and it was like, it was like breathing fresh air to just have, but also a challenge. I don't know how those two things go together at all, but I love having to tell a story in black and white, having all of the storytelling, the visual storytelling be like something you have to commit to, and not leaving room for a colorist, and knowing that there's nothing, coloring wise that you can tell in that story. I don't know. It's just a really exciting challenge to me, but also I absolutely love, just working in black and white, and I would be more than happy to set up a whole black and white imprint.
I agree, and I think your art looks amazing in black and white. And Corinna, like, so tell me, co-writing this and everything, like, give us some basic feelings about like the Joker. Is the Joker a favorite of yours? I mean, tell me.
I think Joker is interesting, I think, because you just have chaos. So it's sort of chaos personified is an interesting, a rich tradition of these kind of Joker characters that go back, trickster characters. But you also get this certain maliciousness with this character, which I think is interesting to write right now, because I think that when we were writing this, we discussed that a bit too, about what actually drives someone that just wants to see everything be as crazy as possible all the time. So.
And also just there's a level of almost absurdity that you can have with the Joker that you can't do with a character who needs a more straightforward motivation. I mean, you can tell a story with this character where you don't, the motives are not like laid out and set in stone, and that you have to follow this particular path. There's a level of uncertainty about the character that makes it enjoyable. It's like getting to write like a fake Harold Pinter play or something. Like you don't know where the characters are going.
There's a good question here from the audience from Carl Bakey. He wants to know how you approach black and white differently as opposed to drawing with the colors involved. And I know the answer to this. Do you do your own inks?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course I do my own inks. I mean, I worked in comics when I was younger in the '90s, and not that the work I was doing was amazing, but almost everything I did was destroyed by an inker. I mean, I worked with a couple of good ones. Mark McKenna, Bruce McCorkindale, and Bob Wyacek. Everything else was pretty terrible. So when I came back to comics, I wanted to, I never felt like I'm not a slick inker. I mean, I'm trying to like bring across the feeling of it, and and I actively work against the slickness, and I like texture, and I like and I like to just have the emotion come through the feel of the inks. It definitely is different when you're just working in black and white, and it limits your toolbox in a certain way. You only storytelling toolbox, but I like that. I like limiting things. I like putting you put limits on stuff. It makes you think about it differently. It gives you a different structure to work in, and I think that was always valuable.
Mike, have you had the opportunity to do much black and white stuff?
I mean, no, I haven't, but I'm a big fan of the limits that Gabe's talking about.
Absolutely.
I feel like parameters inspire, innovation. They make you think out. When you're given a limited amount of things that you can do, you start to use them more creatively. And I really like that about that sort of thing. I haven't done it wasn't up until recently that I started even using shadow and stuff in my artwork. I used to be a pretty open line kind of, Mike Waringo copycat. So
sure.
Recently when I started, it's weird. Like once I started working digitally, I started getting rougher and playing around with textures and shadows and stuff like that. It's strange. I don't know if that's necessarily an evolution everybody makes when they go digital, but it worked for me. So
yeah, I mean, it seems to me like usually the people get even slicker when
yeah. And ironically, that's why I started doing it, because I was never hired to ink my own stuff early on, and I said, well, I need to figure out a way to get better at this inking job thing.
Right.
So I started working digitally, and I was like, oh, it corrects my brush and everything. And after they started hiring me to ink my own stuff, and I was like, this is great. And as soon as they did, I was like, you know what? I don't like that. I just started, getting chunky and stuff like that. And they still kept hiring me. So
Yeah,
It
well,
worked
I
out.
mean,
It worked.
there is a level of, you don't want to be a part of the club that you're invited to or whatever, I mean, like,
Right.
as soon as you're doing something that's accepted, it's like, well, maybe this isn't good enough then,
Right.
Just going along with
Yeah.
this,
Corinna, how about the story length? Because 8 pages is, it's funny, and I was saying this on earlier panels today as well, that's how people come up or used to. And now it really isn't that way. And I think sometimes, and again, as the guys have been saying, limits from an art standpoint, tell me about it from a script standpoint.
I actually love short fiction of any sort. I like the ability to tell a limited story in a limit. I guess that's also about putting limits on something makes you actually do the best you can on a particular thing. But I know when we were writing this, 8 pages is not a lot.
No.
And that was a definite challenge for us, especially given that you want enough room for the art to breathe and not, you have to make sure that the story doesn't crowd out or is told in such a way that you can give full reign to, especially when you have art as beautiful as this. You want to make sure that there's room for those large images that tell a story, much of the story in one big panel or several. You could speak more to that, Gabriel.
Well, I mean, this one in particular was, it hasn't always been the case in the past, but for this particular story, we figured out what the story was, and I ended up going and doing layouts before we wrote the script, so that I wouldn't get in the position of overcrowding stuff or losing impact or whatever, which is, I have a tendency to do at points to put, too much in there and then have to kind of weed it out or something. And so I feel like this particular story was really good for actually having a little more discipline on my part.
Okay. Jeff, I know you would literally, when we first started talking 15 years ago, you were breaking into Marvel doing backup stories that were this length or maybe 11 pages. I don't even remember the actual page count.
A lot of short stuff, yeah. And then all my regular work at first was done in one. I did the Marvel Adventures line, and the only rule for the whole thing was it must be done in one, so that a parent doesn't have to go find another book for their kid in case a kid should ever read these things. That was invaluable because I learned the hell out of how to end a story. Because you just got to get it done. So what I kind of fell into doing was I would often try to begin a story with a nice strong action piece to bring you in right away, and then I immediately start figuring out the ending, and then it's all a matter of making those two meet in an interesting, maybe surprising way that can meander, do all kinds of things. And my only rule is ever with the story is that it has to be engaging and interesting. I don't care if characters grow. Fuck that. Why would Batman ever grow as a character?
Yeah, you know what? Fuck characters in general.
It's funny you said that because actually, I talked to Kelly Sue DeConnick about before she did her story in Detective 1027, and she's like, Batman hasn't grown. He's still, and also like she's he's still that kid that his parents. I mean, had a really bad day with his parents, but he's never gotten over it.
Yeah,
that's his whole problem. So
honestly, we over the course of this pandemic world, when I'd been working on a movie and it would you come back for a little while, go away for a little while when, because everything was so, uncertain. So we ended up doing multiple short Batman stories. Like we did one with Batman and Brother Eye. We did this black and white one. There may have been another one. I can't remember. And
you did another one, and then I did another one.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And then Corinna wrote a digital first one, and I wrote and drew a different digital first one, right?
Corinna. Yeah. Forgive me, Gabe. Continue, and then I'll ask Corinna about her story.
When approaching writing Batman, my least favorite part of it is him being this kind of adult child obsessed with his parents and everything. And so in every circumstance, I tried to angle it towards a villain.
So Corinna, tell me about your digital first story. I'm going to talk to Gabe about his in a second, but yeah, tell me about yours.
Oh yeah, actually this one was really fun. When I was pitching this, I was talking to somebody at my day job, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking of trying to think of Batman stories." And he said, "How come Batman never goes in the woods?" And I was like, "Yeah, how come?" So this is a story where Batman goes to Gotham Woods, and the artist on this was Juan Gideon.
Okay,
amazing. And there are monsters, and I guess that he is likes to draw monsters, which is great. But I gave him tripod monsters, which I guess is a challenge, which as a writer, I didn't really think about how that might be challenging. But it looks amazing. And it's I got to play with the relationship between Batman and Nightwing, which was really fun, and kind of how they would both approach this idea that there's a urban legend in the woods.
That's cool. Are you getting more opportunities? I love the digital first stories. I really think they're incredible. They're done in ones, as Jeff was saying.
Yeah, I love too.
So are you doing more for DC Universe? Are you getting chances?
Yes, but I'm not supposed to talk about it yet.
That's okay. That's it. Well, it's an excuse.
I'll say it's not Batman, but there's something else coming after Batman.
That's excellent. And God, I bug Gabe enough solo, so it's an excuse for us to talk solo in the future, please. So definitely. Mike, your run on Trinity is weird because, and I know at the time, you Bagley had the front of the book with Kurt Busiek wrote both parts of it. You had the back of the book, and also for a long part of the run, something happened to the Trinity that they were off model, and you can explain it better.
Well, I'm not sure.
Weren't they like kind of in some like under some sort of magic where? Yeah,
the whole point of that series was it was like Kurt examining Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman as sort of like deities and rather like more of like forces of rather than the actual superheroes. And so most of the stories that us backup artists, like it was me and Scott McDaniel and why can I not think of the third person? That's terrible.
God, I didn't remember Scott doing it either. I only remember.
Yeah, Scott McDaniel did a lot of the stuff that had to do with like Gotham and stuff because he's, that's kind of where he comes from.
Oh yeah.
I did a lot of the, a lot of the Adam Strange kind of like a lot of the superhero stuff that was in the middle, Hawkman and didn't fit in like Metropolis or Gotham, which is kind of appropriate, I guess. But the whole point of that series was being off model, pretty much. I think in my career I've only done Batman 3 times, and that was in that book, in the Judd Winick Green Arrow book, and just this past Batman annual with Tom. So that was the only 3 times I've actually drawn Batman. So I probably shouldn't be on this panel.
No. I wanted you. That's not true. In fact, we have your Trinity 48 cover. That is an
really? Yeah.
So yeah,
back when I couldn't draw. Yeah, don't look at that.
Why? Pre-digital inking?
Oh, I'm kidding. I just that's some of my first work. So
no. Was it pre you working digital?
Yes, it was actually right in the middle. I started. It's funny because a lot of those backups I got. Because I've been really lucky. I've been inked by like Sienkiewicz and Jerry Ordway and stuff like that, and those are kind of collaborators that really leave a mark, obviously. And Ordway, I did a Gangbuster and Tarot backup for Trinity, and that was the first time I worked with Jerry, and I was like, "Whoa, what's this going to be like? Should I should I even like spend a lot of time on these pages? Because he's kind of known for like redrawing everything.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, this will be a good time to start using that Cintiq I just bought. And I just did these really kind of, I mean, they would have been considered pencils in the 70s, but they were kind of just layouts for me. And I was like, and I gave them to Jerry, and that became our backups. And they looked amazing because it was so crazy because you could see what I did, but it was totally a Jerry Ordway kind of finished page. And that was a real fun experience.
That's a bucket list sort of thing there.
Yeah.
I've been very blessed as far as that goes. I got them all out of the way, so I can die now, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
let's not have that happen, please.
Yeah, look, Mike, don't die.
Yeah, but, exactly.
I'm trying not to.
Yeah, I mean, ink by Jerry Ordway, ink by Bill Sienkiewicz. I mean, like that's like 80s kid Nirvana stuff.
Oh, absolutely. That's the only piece of artwork that I have done myself that I've hung up is the Green Arrow stuff that Bill Sienkiewicz inked.
That's what I was going to say, Mike. Well, you know what's interesting? The combination. It isn't Mike Norton.
Oh, you've seen it? It's in my studio. Yeah.
Yes, and it isn't Mike Norton, and it isn't Bill Sienkiewicz. It's something else, and I like that about it because it's not typical Sienkiewicz, which I found very interesting. So, nice little amalgam of the two of you. Like you were the composite Superman Batman.
Well, it teaches you a lot, especially when you're like, I mean, because I consider myself, learning all the time, and it really teaches you a lot about, I think that's how I kind of began to love the collaboration process. Before, when I started out, I was like, they messed up what I was trying to draw, and after doing that, I'm like, oh, I want more of this. I want to see what somebody else can do to this. I want to try and see what I can do to somebody else's stuff.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I'd love to ink somebody else's story. I don't think anybody wants me to though. I mean, one time I was on one of the like a signing thing at a booth next to Art Adams, and he was very complimentary of my work, and then he was like, "Have you ever thought about somebody else inking your work?" He's like, "I'd like to take a shot at it."
Oh my god!
All he's saying is you're a terrible inker. But look, but still, I still appreciate it. It's Art Adams; he can say whatever he wants to.
Jeff, I've been neglecting you. I want to talk about Batman 66.
I like listening to it. It's like, it's funny. Like, I've also been lucky that way that when I started out, I was working as an artist.
Yeah.
And I didn't like inkers any more than Hardman did. But in the later years, when I'd occasionally do just a little burst of drawing here and there, I've been lucky enough to have a cover and a few pages inked by Kevin Nolan. And it's like,
there you go. That's exactly what we're talking about.
To me, it just gets no better than that. And yes, he turned it into Kevin Nolan, and that's what I wanted him to do.
Yeah, right.
But unfortunately, it was after he finally started printing out the pencils and inking. So I didn't get any Kevin Nolan art out of it, which is a big burner on. I get to look at it, but it's not on the wall anywhere. So.
But I mean, the people that we're talking about, every one of these, your Jerry Ordways, your Sienkiewicz, your Kevin Nolan, these are all guys who can do the whole job. I mean, they're not, they can draw and they can tell a story, and they bring all of that.
They can color it, they can letter it.
Yeah.
That's
no
awesome.
one can do the logo. It's they're amazing.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I finally talked to Kevin Nolan for the first time for Baltimore Con last month. Great guy, and
it's super cool.
Absolutely, man, and brilliant artist. So Jeff, beyond art, let's talk for a minute about Batman 66 because we had a nice long conversation about it a couple nights ago. Everybody that's watching, and if we can, he and I did the solo thing, but let's put up some covers of Jeff's stuff. There you go. And what a great now you see. There's a great combination of stuff because we got the regular Batman 66 book. We also have one of the great covers from the crossover with the Man from U.N.C.L.E. But I love this because it's got characters from the TV show, but also like a great Batgirl right there, and of course beautiful Adam West art. But yeah, just that whole experience of doing Batman 66. Tell us what it was like. There you go.
It was going back to doing short stories. What was so cool about it was, as soon as I got that job, everyone called me like I'm in charge of DC or whatever, and gave me the same story. Like, this is how I got into comics. I watched the show as a kid, and I sought out Batman comics, blah, blah, blah. So I was in this rare position you never get in, where I was able to just kind of like talk to almost everybody I wanted to. Like, what ones did you like? What did you enjoy? And a lot of people would come to me and tell me, like, I always really like this. And then I'd talk to Jim Chadwick, the editor, and if he okayed them, I would craft a story based on, what they like. Because it's like, it's great that I got to do this for 8-year-old me, who's in there somewhere, not letting me turn the job down. But also got to do it with those artists. And, so we brought in a huge variety of people. Norton, I'm sorry you didn't get in there. I don't know what you were doing at the time. You're always avoiding it now.
You're on my list. You're on my list.
It's actually a running joke that he and I never worked together. But like, we had interesting things like Dean Haspiel was talking to me one time at a show, and he goes, Shelley Winters was my godmother. She taught me how to swim and everything, because he's from some weird family that's super connected. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I wasn't going to do a Ma Parker story, but we can't pass this up, So I wrote a Ma Parker story for him. I'm trying to think of some others that I based on, I just got to, like, Brent Schoonover. I just thought that guy needs to draw Solomon Grundy. So, Solomon Grundy story and everything. Yeah, it's so rare that you get to actually tailor stuff for somebody, and they're all short, so it didn't take people that long. At most, maybe they did, 2 10-page segments or something like that. But I started with my good friend Jonathan Case on the series, and he was super important in setting the tone for the entire thing.
Put up those images of the covers again, because Jeff can, the second group, guys, so Jeff can talk about Jonathan some more. Those covers, yeah. Because the middle one,
okay, the one on the left, that's Mike Allred,
cool.
regular cover artist for the series. Mike.
Alex Ross on the right.
Yeah, and that was Alex Ross, of course. That was a surprise. No one told me that was coming. And then the one in the middle was the variant #1 that Jonathan did. And those were like the first images for the book ever drawn. They weren't really super familiar with this stuff, even though I think Jim Chadwick had just bought the Green River Killer and was liking the book.
Yeah.
And drew Real Serial Killer up here in the Pacific Northwest.
No, I remember that book. That was a great book. Yeah.
A really good book.
And so I was talking to Jonathan, and I hate to ask anybody to draw something, but we all always have to audition. That's just the nature of the beast. And he didn't care. He was like, he had just got through doing Green River Killer and something at Dark Horse that was also very heavy material. And he was really wanting to do something. He had just got through telling me he wanted to do something lighter because the work was getting to him.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I got just the thing, really. And I said, could you do some likenesses to show them? So he did this Julie Newmar Catwoman and everything, and Cesar Romero showing the mustache Joker and everything. And it was funny because everybody at DC was talking to me. It was like, well, we want to go with somebody we know, blah, 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 blah. And as soon as Jonathan sent in that art, they were going, well, Jonathan's beginning the book, so we're going to start with him. I'm like, okay. Yeah, thanks for telling me. I didn't know he was good.
And God, they used that art from that variant cover at San Diego when they were announcing the series. I remember seeing that all over the place and just giant panels of those images and stuff. It was fantastic. It's so exciting that, as you and I talked about earlier, Jeff, the likelihood that they would ever untangle the rights to the 66 show
because it's possible.
Yeah, because it was, for people watching that didn't hear our previous conversation, it was before Warner Brothers owned DC, and DC was just a publishing company. Fox made the TV show. Then Warner Brothers bought DC, so they own the IP, but Fox owns the television show. They were able to make VHS copies.
And Greenwood, William Dozier's company, whole different thing. No one's alive. There a lot of what they ran into with this was trying to secure rights where there was no one remaining to grant rights, and they weren't sure what to do. That's why we never ended up actually being able to do the likenesses of Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara. So they look different all the time throughout the series.
The estate of Neil Hamilton not available.
Yeah, same thing with Alfred. Same thing with. I know. It's like, come on, I want to look like him.
Was that Alan Napier, or is that?
Yes, it was Alan Napier. I can't remember the name of Chief O'Hara.
Me neither.
Saints be praised.
I'll get it in a second. But Napier also, you can look online and you can find a place where he plays Sherlock Holmes, and it's actually pretty good.
Wow. I'm always excited when I see movies from the 40s and 50s, and you see him as a character actor and stuff. Corinna, do you like the 66 show? Did you watch it as a kid?
I don't think that it was available where I was.
Okay.
Never.
Back in your days in the Soviet Union, that was
plausible deniability. Yeah.
I watched plenty of Gilligan's Island, but yeah.
What are your feelings about Hans Conrad?
We were talking about him last night. That's very nice. That's excellent, man. Now, that's surprising. Hans Conrad never showed up on the 66 Batman show. He would have been perfect for that.
Huh.
If you were a friend of William Dozier, you showed up as a villain on that show.
Well, and it's interesting because kind of like how Doctor Who came when it was rebooted in the early 2000s, Batman was the it show for 2 years. And so, you're right. They were the friends of William Dozier. But then Jerry Lewis is popping out of the window. Sammy's popping out of the window. Lurch, as we talked about the other day, was popping out of the window. Ted Cassidy. I mean, it was crazy.
Warner Kempler.
Yes, as Colonel Clank.
Yeah, actually, when you describe who was on the show, it sounds like it was aimed at 50-year-old men in 1956.
You're not wrong.
Like, hey, Sammy's here. We got Werner Klemper. So aimed at me.
What do you want? We got it all.
I mean,
would you ever? Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying. I loved every second of it. That was all the reruns I was watching as a kid, so I totally got all of it.
Well, we're like Rudy Valley.
I saw, those guys in like Cannonball Run, and I was watching Hogan's Heroes and stuff. That was all on TV. And my mom woke me up at like midnight so I could watch the Batman movie on WPTY in Memphis. And
wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow. And then I was like, then I started reading the comics though. And I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
It's like, these guys are way too goofy for teenage Mike Norton.
Well, I always say there's 3 stages of Batman 66. When you're 5 years old, it's straight up action and drama.
It's the greatest thing ever.
And then around adolescence, you're like, this is corny. I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
And then somewhere like around high school or college, you're like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be corny. These guys are geniuses. They are doing an amazing comedy show. And then
that's where
now
I am now.
Yeah.
I mean, the story I did in the
Junior is writing this. This is good.
Yeah. The part of like the annual that I did with Tom this year. I mean, it was supposed to be a separate story, but Lee Weeks couldn't do it, so they just added on to the story he was already doing with Jorge Fornes. And I was like, it's essentially Batman show because it's Alfred's account of a day in the life of Batman. And so it's just like Batman playing football, Batman, fighting alligators, Batman helping old ladies cross the street, Batman, it's all that stuff. Batman fighting giant robots, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Teenage Mike Norton wouldn't have liked this, but I'm old enough now. I think this is cool as hell. Yeah. So my part is that's my favorite part of that whole book. Jorge and Tom had like this serious noir detective story at the beginning. I'm like, that's real cool. But I had Batman fighting against dirigibles and, guys with like cookies and stuff like that. So
understood. I want to take a question from the audience from Saki, the sock puppet. It's right there at the bottom, guys. There it is. For Around the Horn, everybody, what's the biggest Batman character that you might have a difficult time with, and why? And feel whoever wants to jump in first, and we'll go clockwise from there.
That's
we're so polite.
I tried to work out a Penguin story for to pitch for that digital book, and I could not find an angle on the Penguin at all.
Interesting.
Like, I don't. It feels like, yeah, he's sort of just a gangster, but he doesn't. And he kind of has some, he has some kind of angle to him, but I don't have any idea how that translates into kind of a hook for a compelling story. So fuck the Penguin.
That is true.
Burgess Meredith is spinning in his grave right now.
I love Burgess Meredith. Burgess Meredith. Nothing against Burgess Meredith.
No, he was the best.
Burgess Meredith is not the Penguin. He just played him.
Exactly. Oh, it's kind of like Leonard Nimoy. I am not Spock. All right. No, I didn't know that. I appreciate the clarification. Right. Thank you. That wasn't the Penguin in Of Mice and Men with.
Do we have to digress and I go into a whole spiel about Burgess Meredith's Broadway directing career here? Because I could.
Or his many love affairs, apparently. I read his autobiography. Quite proud of his encounters, let's put it mildly.
Oh, wow.
Well, I won't be reading that autobiography.
Paulette Goddard among the women that...
The erotic adventures of
Burgess Meredith. Soon to be a Blue Water comic book. I look forward to it. That's going to be fantastic. Oh, my God. That's great. Anybody else, like a Batman character you can't get your head around, guys?
He's right. It is definitely the Penguin. But
interesting.
But no, I often shied away from putting Penguin in much of the book. I liked him better as a supporting character. I feel like he works good as this kind of constant background figure. He's in the crime scene. But also, let me just go big and say, screw the Joker as well. I am sick of him.
Right.
I've seen. I don't know what I don't want to see more. Batman's parents dying or the Joker just being there, And unless, my caveat, if someone would actually go back and do the Conrad Veidt by Joker, where he's kind of this just creepy, quiet guy, instead of getting all up in your face and blah, 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 and just trying to show, he was just kind of weirdly creepy.
Oh, God, yeah. That original story in Batman issue 1. And like you said, so Conrad Veidt. Obviously, that's where Jerry Robinson was going for.
You're looking right at a movie still. And it's like, why not try that Joker for a little while? And put a hold on him for 5 years or something.
No, I understand.
I feel like Danny Elfman patterned his whole life off of that
guy. You're not wrong. Watch any Oingo Boingo video. I think you're absolutely right about that. That's funny. So, I mean, Corinna, any characters come to mind that you would struggle with Batman-wise?
Yeah, actually, Nightwing. I had previously a while back been asked to pitch something for a Nightwing thing, and I just couldn't quite get it right. And so then with this one the digital one, I was like, damn it, I'm going to get Nightwing right.
That's awesome. That's great.
Feel like I have finally made peace with that character, but previously that would have been up to about a couple of months ago. I'd say that would have been my answer.
That's it, and I agree with what you guys are saying about the Joker. However, I do think James Tynion with the Joker War actually told an interesting story. And yeah, I mean, no, it's like every time a really good Batman writer comes on the book, I'm always like, God, I don't know what. I mean, what's left to say after 80 years with the regular rogues? And I like what James is even doing, spinning out of the Joker War, coming up with not only Punchline, but Clown Killer and Ghostmaker. And Ghostmaker I really like in particular. I think he's an interesting character, and I think 2021 is going to be very cool.
I'm jealous of the name.
Which one? Ghost of which one?
Punchline. I was like, oh, yeah. That's a good character. Good job.
Absolutely. And in fact, mentioning Punchline, we've got Art. I have to make sure that I say her name right because she's on my list. Mirka Andolfo is selling prints of Punchline from her one-shot that just came out a couple weeks ago. There they are. Outstanding. Look at it. I love the one on the right that evokes the Alex Ross Joker Harley.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's what they're going for in that. And yeah, I mean, and really, again, could have been this, like, throwaway character, but she's no Harley. I mean, she's very much her own woman, and it's very intriguing. I give James a lot of credit for coming up with these 3 new characters that are going to mess in the Batman universe for, definitely the majority of 2021. It's going to be interesting. So, let's see here. Is there another? What was another good question here? Well, actually, Greg McKean makes an interesting statement and does have a question and says, I think what makes DC Elseworlds so memorable, Batman can grow or at least come from a different background and still grow into Batman. Do you have a favorite Batman Elseworlds story? I'll start off and say I love the one that, God damn it, Eduardo Barreto did, where Superman grows up to be Batman, and it's and he's raised by the Waynes, and the Waynes find him and stuff. And I it was called the something Bullets. I can't remember what it was called, but it was fantastic. I thought that was great.
Is it called The Incredibly Small World of DC Comics?
Yes. Yes.
Where you
and some of the Elseworlds
it's
did
not
get
the one guy, it's the other one.
No. Outstanding.
But also Gotham by Gaslight.
Of course. Great.
Yeah, essentially that's what
started
Elseworlds hangs its hat on that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the reason it exists.
No question.
Totally.
And Silver Age had every now and then interesting imaginary tales prior to the Elseworlds title and stuff. And then sometimes, and again, they also did that one where Bruce is raised by the Kents after the parents die, I believe. I remember that Silver Age story. But anyway.
And he starts farming harder than ever.
Yeah, very determined farmer.
My favorite Elseworlds story, The Killing Joke. Wow, that joke didn't go very far, but
we got
what it was though.
No, absolutely.
And I don't think Moore and Gibbons thought it was supposed to be in continuity either. So, Batman kills him at the end. So
yeah.
I love that question. I never thought he killed him. I did think they kind of had a real moment where they both just started laughing. And as much as, listen, I understand
Batman's an asshole.
Well, and I get that too. But I really do.
Good joke.
I do like that moment at the end when Batman goes to the Joker and it's like, look, if we don't stop doing this, we're gonna, one of us is gonna end up dead. Please let me help you. And Joker's like, no, and Joker has a real moment of clarity, and he's just like, no, I'm too far gone. You can't help me. And then he tells his joke, obviously, but hence the killing joke. But no, I thought that was that one moment. I think is a really strong moment in Killing.
It's funny. That came up again because I think Grant Morrison brought it up in an interview, and then everybody started arguing about it a couple of years ago online.
Mm-hmm.
And as I remember at the time in the 80s, me and my friends, we all assumed he killed him.
Interesting.
We didn't think it was a big deal because we, again, did not think the book was in continuity.
Sure.
We thought it seemed like a one-shot. And it's like, oh, he's like, Joker's making it clear he's never going to stop. And the reason that they pan down and the laughter stops is because his neck just got broken. And I like it that way. A happy ending where the Joker dies.
I love that moment in Dark Knight, the original Dark Knight story in the 3rd issue, where the Joker kills himself and Batman's stuck with the corpse, and essentially it looks like Batman just killed the Joker. I thought that was a great moment. So, and also even in the movie, I did appreciate the callback to that great scene that in the comic happens in the Letterman audience, where Joker kills everybody in the audience and everything. I think that was a chilling moment. You know, Corinna, I started asking you, and I really want to hear everybody's thoughts on the movie, the Joker movie.
Do you really?
That sounds like we're going to go for another hour.
You want to hear his?
Now I do.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay. Did you see it, Corinna, or no?
Full disclosure, I actually have not finished seeing it, which
Okay.
had me, and I should probably shut up until I see all of it.
No, and I don't want to spoil, obviously. The one thing that bothered me is being an older movie fan. It was painfully obvious the Mean Streets and Taxi Driver and King of Comedy heavy influence. And I mean, it's, homage one thing, but,
It's interesting, though, the way that it has sort of this crossover appeal to people. I've talked to a lot of people who are not comic book fans and also not comic book movie fans.
Yep.
Who actually went out of their way to see that particular film. And I think it's interesting that that's the thing that kind of reached over into people that are just fans of drama.
Right. Yep. Well, that angle is new to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Like, for anybody else that has read or seen a comic book movie, they've been there, done that. So.
And if they're under 40, the likelihood that they haven't seen King of Comedy or Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
So it is fresh to them.
Yeah. I'm talking
yeah.
interns at my other, at my day job and stuff that, normally.
Yeah. I know it's, again, the five of us and everything. It's like and I don't mean to be these kids, but really that, you mean like a real old movie? You mean like before 1980? And it's like,
yeah. Well, try before 2015 for some.
I mean, I mean, I think that there's an element of this stuff where, forget it.
This was about to get interesting.
I love when someone goes into an anecdote and then sees ahead and says, it's not worth it. And just cuts bait and leaves. That's my favorite bit.
This would never happen on the Outer Limits show. I would just go on forever about it. But in this circumstance, we'll leave it be.
All right, I'll give you a safe subject, Gabe, because we haven't talked about it yet. Your digital first comic featuring Batman and Dr. Phosphorus. And I know we've got at least a couple images from that, don't we, Alec? I think if you look around, you can find it. Certainly the cover, I know we have that.
Yeah.
There we go. Beautiful.
This is, this was, it's another digital first standalone, like 16-page story, and which is fun because it's twice as long as an 8-page story, so it kind of feels a little bit more. But it was a cool challenge to have, to integrate Batwoman in there, and also Batwoman's costume is like the best modern costume.
No kidding.
Sorry. But I actually, the Batwoman of it all aside, I totally reach back to a kind of 70s, Batman, influence. It has Rupert Thorne in it, and who is a kind of 70s era Batman, Gotham City politician, and Dr. Phosphorus. I just I can pretend like I had elaborate great reasons for Dr. Phosphorus, but really I just like people whose skeletons show. I mean, I like drawing skeletons. And I feel like, if you could have like a guy, if you have a character who is a walking skeleton, that's basically just like money in the bank. Also, he's leaking radioactive blood throughout the entire story. So you put those things together, and I just feel like that's that's the kind of solid, Batman digital first entertainment that everybody needs.
Well, then we're looking forward to your Mr. Bones, Dr. Phosphorus crossover for the DC Universe, skeleton versus skeleton.
Yeah, they have my phone number.
Hey, single me out so I can show this image that I meant to send. And I know Gabe gets sick of me like bringing it up, but if you could tell, and forgive me for the reflection, there it is. So you can't see the face, but essentially that's Orson Welles as Batman.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite commissions that I've ever seen Gabe do. So Third Man era, like the late 40s, post-war Orson Welles. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that one as well. So let's see if we've got other good questions here.
Someone likes Norton's dogs.
Yeah, I saw that. Comics Misexplained loves Mike and his pug love. He's got 2 black pugs that are my children. Yeah, absolutely, man. No, that's awesome. Saki the Sock Puppet asks right above that, ever thought of doing the adaptation comic of the upcoming The Batman movie? If so, what would make the comic to be so interesting for you and why? Just a curious question. I'll before you answer, I do find movie adaptations, comic book movie adaptations, interesting from the scripting standpoint and the artists. And I mean, God, Jerry Ordway, in fact, as we mentioned him before, did the '89 Batman one. And God, Chuck Dixon and I back in the day talked a lot about various adaptations that he did, So, I broaden it just in terms of not only the Batman movie coming up, but movie adaptations at all. We can go around the room and see who would want to do it and who wouldn't want to do it. I have a feeling I know who wouldn't want to do it.
What? Come on. What? Just because you think I respond negatively to every single thing, just because I was shaking my head while you were asking the question? Jeez. Mike, what?
There we go.
I didn't know if I sent it or not. Thanks, everybody. That's what you guys have it.
It's like he's standing in the little alley, the little thing from the Third Man.
Absolutely.
Mike Norton, what are your feelings about doing like a movie adaptation of the comic?
I mean, I don't have a burning desire to do one. I feel like when I was younger, like when Ordway did the '89 Batman, they were a different thing. I feel like they were using like different scripts and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like it was like reading the novelization of a movie, and you would get something else than what you were gonna see. And now they're much more integrated, like Happy Meal sort of tie-in kind of things. And
I hear you.
I feel like it would be a like nightmare approval wise as far as likenesses and stuff. And that is not a very fun thing for me. So
no, I can't imagine that's too fun for anybody.
Voice of experience right there. That is they're all licensed comics, but that's a licensed comic.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That would be really hard.
Yeah, I mean, just the great thing about that Jerry Ordway one is that he just does beautiful art, and the art.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just want to. It doesn't matter what it is. You're just going to look at it. So.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
What are the royalties, you think?
What's that?
What are the royalties, you think? Though, how hard are they going to push this?
That's the other thing. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I feel like there's probably adaptations that you don't even know existed. Who knows how much they made on them? I don't know.
Chuck told me about Wild Wild West being that they were going to adapt that. Will Smith would never approve his likeness, so that's why thankfully we didn't get that one. I remember that story.
I didn't know about that. One thing that would be good though. I mean, much like Jeff and everybody working on Batman 66, where it's not an adaptation. It's not like you're just doing adaptations of the episode. You're contributing something. You're getting to play in that world. I mean, doing a series like that for the Burton Batman movies, I think would be super fun. I would totally be on board for doing.
Well, and you guys you and Corinna essentially did that with Planet of the Apes, and all those great Planet of the Apes comics that you guys did, as I always like to refer to it, Young Dr. Zayas.
Yeah,
because
that's just playing in the world of the thing, I mean, like telling any other story in some pre-established, thing. I mean, I totally, I've never understood why they wouldn't do a Batman 89, book series along the lines of the 66 one. And sure. I mean, I don't think those are the greatest movies in the world, but I think there's a lot of potential in that world and the style of it and the way, the kind of approach to the characters of all. I actually like Batman Returns, and I like the Penguin in that. I think that the Penguin works as this, this kind of grotesquerie in a way that,
those movies are all about the visuals anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all it is.
But then
most Burton is like that.
Yeah, and if you did, spin-off stories from that, I mean, that gives you the opportunity to take that style and take that world and then tell stories and compelling.
Yeah, like what if Burton did Clayface, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, or what if he had a good script, things like that.
And Jeff, that's what Jeff, that's what you got to play with in the Batman 66 thing. Not only bringing the TV villains to the comics, but also, like you said earlier, with your story with Brent Schoonover and stuff, taking comic characters and putting them in the TV world, like you did with Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, I got to do the weird. It was a fun exercise of like, what if they had done these characters that they never did in the comics? But it's 1967, yet they have a giant budget, and John Chambers is doing the makeup and all that sort of thing. How might they have done that? So that was fun to do it like that. And that way I got to do, I'm trying to think of some casting. Like, by the way, these aren't legit, and we never said it in print, so you can't really sue me for any of it. But like, Anne Margaret as Poison Ivy was the obvious one there.
Wow.
Goldie Hawn as Harlequin, as we called her, and Lucas Kettner drew her with the great crash helmet and everything, and it was a character that I normally am not that into, and came away just thinking this was really fun to do. Lurch, obviously, Ted Cassidy is already Solomon Grundy if you take the tie off of him. Like that's it. There's no difference at that point.
Who played him in the Super Friends roast?
Oh, I thought that was
the old seven.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. It probably was. I don't know. Yeah, he was still around. That's interesting.
I can't remember. Wasn't it him?
I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, that
probably
would make
was.
sense.
If it wasn't him, they would have probably gotten Richard Kyle. Who played
That's right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's so funny. I talked to Alex Ross last week. He's got a brand new art book, and he's got this great double page in the middle of the book, and it is that Challenge of the Superheroes special in Alex Ross style. And he just loved it because, of course, he was a kid when he saw it. And the fact that it really was so many Justice League members all at once. So he put Linda Carter and Christopher Reeve, and I believe he also put John Wesley Shipp in there, and just had them all like just kind of a great DC universe of the late 70s moment and stuff. It was just fantastic. Corinna, I wanted to ask you because say it again.
I was just looking at that
Mickey Morton. Okay. He played Solomon Grundy. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Internet. That was awesome.
All right.
Corinna, I wanted to ask you because you did such great work on the Angels series. And, in fact, people told me to watch David Boreanaz in Angel in the 5th season. And it's the closest thing we're going to get to a Batman TV series. And I'm like, that's really okay. I'm like, okay, now you have my attention. And I really grew to love the character. And I wonder if you ever saw any similarities in the characters as you were writing the book.
That's funny. I hadn't thought that, but now that you say it, that kind of actually makes sense. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Well, I really loved your run on Angel. I thought it was
Thank
really
you
good.
so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that.
We are close to wrapping up. I mean, technically, we've only been broadcasting for under an hour. Technically, it's already past the hour. We can wrap up if you guys want. Let me see if there's any other interesting questions. There's a spoilery question from Caleb, so I don't want you to put it up, guys, because Corinna hasn't seen the full Joker film.
It's okay. I'll cover my eyes or something.
Nah, that's all right. That's it. That's fine. It's an observation, and that's fine. I'm sure you'll reach the same conclusions as our viewer did. But guys, honestly, let's take this opportunity as we wrap up to tell any upcoming projects that you guys want to promote. Corinna, what do you got? What do you got coming up that you can talk about? Obviously, digital first that we can't talk about.
The Expanse miniseries from.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, that's a 4-issue miniseries. It starts in December. You can already pre-order the graphic novel collection. I found out yesterday.
Who's publishing it?
Boom.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's going to fit. It's a story, self-contained story to fit in between season 4 and 5.
Terrific.
So, yeah, it's turning out great. Art by Alejandro Aragon. I hope I didn't butcher saying his name. And it looks great. And it's actually been a dream to work with them license-wise. I know we're talking about the licensing, and they're actually really cool. So
that's awesome.
Like that show, they really care about that show, which is great.
And did I read correctly that their 6th season is going to be the last season? As I understand.
I read that too. I don't have any insider intel, but I read that on Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it must be true.
Yeah.
Fake news. Parker, what do you got coming up?
Going by 2020, you would think I don't write anything anymore, but I swear I am writing things. But the only thing that's been officially announced is next year, Ninjak for Valiant Comics. And I'm doing that with Javier Pulido.
Hey, wow.
My corresponding JP in Spain. And his last name's really Rodriguez, but anyway.
Way to out him.
It looks so cool. And it's very much an artist book that artists are going to buy.
Yeah. You just said it. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I like the character. That's exciting, Jeff. I look forward to talking to you about Ninjak. That's going to be great.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think. Most recent Batman things I did were some tie-in, some toy-related things they sold at Target, where I got to fight King Shark and characters like that. That was actually fun, but I don't seem to have any with me to hold up right now. Okay. So I'll just say that.
Very cool. Mike?
You guys got any work for me?
Hey, Mike, what if we go back to that the 70s special John was mentioning, and we just focus on Jeff Altman as the weather wizard?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great. Yeah. I just finished Hellboy in the BPRD 1967. I get the dates mixed up. I think it's 67. It might be 57. I forget. Anyway, I just did
big difference in decades, but I still like it.
Yeah, they're so
big difference. I think it's 57.
Okay.
It's a one shot I did that kind of puts a coda on the last stuff I did for Hellboy. And
who wrote that?
What's that?
Who wrote it?
It's Chris Roberson. He's been doing a lot of the Hellboy stuff.
Yeah.
He's pretty much written all of the Hellboy stuff I've worked on, which is quite a bit now at this point. But I finished that. That should be out next year sometime, and there's going to be some more after that, I think. And other than that, it's just all creator-owned stuff like Grumble and hopefully more Battle Pug. But if somebody asked me to do Batman, I'd do it again, I guess.
All right, so now obviously, Gabe and Corinna, you've got your issue of Batman Black and White coming up in January. But what else is going on, Gabe? And I know you're busy doing a lot of movie stuff that you can't obviously talk about. But
I don't know what you're talking about, John.
Exactly.
But, I don't have anything else that I can announce.
Okay.
There are, creator-owned things and machinations going on, but
Okay.
I don't have any other comics things to announce.
All right, fair enough. And of course, reminding people of Gabe and Corinna's excellent work on the Planet of the Apes world. Their stuff that they did back in the day for Boom, and the Invisible Republic, one of my favorite independent creator-owned series that you guys have done.
It used to be on my rack behind me, but my favorite is Gabe's Kinski book.
I was going to mention Kinski, absolutely.
It's somewhere on my rack.
I very much appreciate you bringing that up. That's like the most personal book to me, and I encourage people to.
It's definitely it's
available still on Comixology, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean it's still on Comixology, and and you can theoretically still order the book as well.
Cool.
It's I mean, I'd also certainly love to. Put it out again someday in a like a hardcover or something a little more substantial.
I've got to ask because I can't remember. Were you able to leave a copy of it at Werner Herzog's house when you worked on him?
I did. I gave Werner Herzog a copy of it. And he 100% pretended like it didn't exist because I think it was a little too close to home for him. But I also gave him copies of Invisible Republic, which he was actually very effusive about. Corinna was there for that part when we went back over there.
That's really cool.
I remember you guys telling that story. That's fantastic. On a Word Balloon Live YouTube, everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
So fantastic. I like this book very much.
It is.
Having seen Mandalorian,
do that.
Having seen Mandalorian, I can slip into Werner Herzog now.
Yeah.
So maybe not as good as I think, but there you go.
It's your superpower.
Everybody, thanks a lot for watching Bad Black Friday. It's been a great event and tremendous panels. Again, as you see on the crawl underneath, limited edition signed prints and autographed comics available at mainframecomiccon.com. While supplies last, the sale will continue through December 4th. So you've still got a whole week to take advantage and see some of these amazing prints and get slabbed copies of books. You can get books with remarks on them. David Finch is doing that for the Batman Catwoman book. It's fantastic and a great sale. And we really appreciate your support and your eyeballs all evening on this Black Friday. So thanks a lot for watching. Corinna, Jeff, Gabe, Mike, thank you for closing out the show with me. And everybody take care. And as we always say during these terrible times, stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. Bye-bye, everybody.
Black Friday comic book deals are now available at mainframecomiccon.com. Like this David Finch exclusive variant starting at only $30. Limited edition prints autographed and shipped to you from only $45. Mail-in signatures with CGC grading available for your personal comic book collection. And impossible to find comic book posters all signed by the top names at DC. This is a limited time offer, so head on over to mainframecomiccon.com and pick up yours today.